Welcome to Women of the World, a show which gives a voice to women from around the world who have chosen to make the United States their home. Here's today's moderator, Nadia Giordana.
Hello and welcome to Women of the World. I'm Nadia Giordana. We're talking today about COVID-19. The co-hosts on this program are all from different countries around the world. Three of those ladies will be here with me today to talk about their countries of origin, respectively, and what is being done in regard to COVID-19, maybe some similarities to the United States, perhaps some differences. We'll have first up Amalia Damgaard from Guatemala, then Ishwari Rajak from the Himalayas, and finally Ann Makena from Kenya. Right now, let's go talk to Amalia. Amalia, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Nadia. It's great to be here again after a few weeks, right? Or perhaps months.
And more like months, but it's nice to see you again.
It's good to see you too.
Well, Amalia, the purpose of this program is to primarily get some information about COVID-19 in our respective countries and what's been going on there, and also what you've been doing during this time. Tell me what you've heard.
Well, I am connected to my home country through my family. And I am also on the board of an organization that helps families with education and housing and so on in a major city in Guatemala. And through them, I keep up to date or to speed with what's going on. And of course, I read the news and watch Spanish networks because even the international networks that are the best known do not cover a lot about Latin America. So, and what they do cover is not a lot. So when I talk to my family, when I search for information in the Spanish language newspapers, especially the Guatemalan newspapers, then you get to see a little bit more of what's going on down there. But they are just now reaching the peak of COVID. When we started back in March, I was telling my family how things were going here and that the wave would eventually go down there, and it did. As you know, it's kind of like a wave that is being sweeping from Asia through Europe and then to the US and then to Latin America and the rest of the world. But in Guatemala specifically, initially, the cases were very low, and we just knew that it was a matter of time before the cases started to rise, and they did. And just like what happened here in New York City, I don't think it's as bad, but we haven't seen. I don't think we've seen the worst yet. I know they have the mask. Wearing a mask is required wherever you go, and they have established now for the last I want to say maybe a couple of months. Public transportation is not working, and they have implemented a system where only a few cars can circulate throughout the week, and those are even number license plates. So my family is affected, in which if my nephew, for example, happens to be visiting his parents, and then it's a Friday, and then the next day he finds out, what cars cannot circulate, that weekend, then he spends the weekend at my sister's home. But they're restricting traffic, all with the idea to get less people out and about. And then also there are restrictions in terms of how many people can be in different stores and so on. After 4 p.m., people need to be in their homes. So there is restriction of being at home from 4 p.m. Until 6 a.m., which is when people start going to work. And so it's affecting people in very different ways. The economy in Guatemala is a little bit different from the way things are here. There are very many micro businesses, and there are many open markets, open air markets that people normally go to. And so I think that the most affected businesses are the smallest ones, the ones with the lesser resources, I should say.
You know, speaking of businesses and how things are being affected, we have a couple of minutes left. How has things affected your business? Tell us a little bit about your business and what you've been doing through all of this.
You know, when COVID started, I had just returned from Mexico City, and thank goodness I got that trip out of the way, because that was an educational trip for me. I've been doing research for my second book. And when I came back, my plan was to start testing recipes and to have a routine where I would be done by a certain amount of time. Well, certainly that didn't happen, because then the quarantine began, and you know, we were all afraid. We didn't know a lot of things. We know a lot more about the virus. We still don't know everything yet, but I was concerned about going to the grocery store and not knowing what to expect. They were telling us to sanitize anything we touched, and even grocery bags and all this and that. And then shortages started happening at the grocery store, from flour to soap to you name it. And so there were ingredients that I could not find. And of course, for the kind of cooking I do, sometimes I go to various stores, and I did not feel free to run around everywhere because of COVID. So then I had contracts for live events that got postponed to the fall. And now we're learning that, of course, we're in the same situation. And some of the ones that could be converted to virtual were converted to virtual. So I've been doing a lot of virtual, you know, one-on-one meetings. I've been doing events for national companies that have turned international, because with Zoom and with these online platforms, you don't have a barrier in terms of countries. So many of the events that were originally meant to be local now have turned international. And so I've been doing cooking demonstrations and presentations and speaking gigs, all virtual. And it's a good thing, because I'm learning new things. And so I take it one day at a time. My book is progressing. Now I am almost done with the testing. And so I am excited that I am working on something fun, constructive, that we will come to fruition, full fruition, at the beginning of next year. So that's what I've been doing. That's what I've been up to. And, you know, the mental thing has been tough at times, because it's affected all of us. But being busy in the kitchen, I call the kitchen, you know, my sanctuary, my happy place. And when I am cooking, when I am distracted, when I am engaged into something fun and delicious, then time seems to go by very quickly, and it has. So that's what I've been up to.
You know, I applaud you for finding workarounds, as many people are doing. I applaud you for that. And We're going to go in a few minutes to talk with Ishwari Rajak, who's currently in Australia, but she's from the Himalayas, and we're going to hear
Oh,
what
wow.
her story is. She's stranded in Australia right now. But thank you, Amalia, for being here today. We'll talk to you again soon, and I'm going to go talk with Ishwari. Ishwari, welcome to the show. It's so nice to see you here.
It's nice to see you too, Nadia. It's been a while.
It has been. It's been many months since I've seen you in person. Now,
Yes.
you're in Australia. How did it come about that you went to Australia and then, of course, COVID came along and you got stranded? Tell us all about that.
I left America in around end of January. I thought, it's winter there, so 2 months I thought I'll spend with my family here. My sister lives here. So I came here and it was all fine. Actually, the country, Australia, was literally burning then because of bushfire.
Yeah.
And then I was planning to go back home to Nepal for a few weeks. So end of February, I left for a few weeks to Nepal, and it was all normal when I left. And by the time I was leaving Nepal, it was people were talking about how this something is happening and the borders are going to close. Then everybody said, "Oh, it's not possible because you can't actually, due to the international arrangements, you can't close borders. Closing international borders is not allowed." And then here I live Nepal, come to Australia, and few days later there was the COVID-19 hit very hard. And then I was supposed to leave, but then my plane got canceled and I couldn't. It was just like, oh, maybe it will happen, maybe it won't happen. And on the day of going my flight, it didn't happen. So since then I've been here, been 4 months now. Almost.
Did you try a few times between then and now to find a way to get home, or did you know that it just wasn't going to work?
I did. After maybe a month and a half, something, I thought, oh, it's time to go back. And I looked at, okay, only the option was flight, obviously. And I looked at flights, everything was closed, but I heard Singapore Airlines was still flying. So I looked at that flight and it was pretty expensive. It was just one way was above $2,000.
Oh.
And I thought maybe I would spend that to get back home. Then I found out that United Airlines is still flying from Sydney. So I have a ticket to fly back in a few weeks. Hopefully everything will remain good so I can fly.
So you think, when will you try again to come back? In a few weeks?
Yes, there's been cases in Victoria here. The new cases, the first is gone, but the second one in last couple of weeks, it's been intense. So the borders are closed. And here where I am at, Canberra, there were no cases, but just a few days ago, they found 3 or 4 people have been found who are infected. So it's a slow, what's gonna happen kind of thing. And I fly in a week and a half. So I'm hoping things would remain good enough for me to travel to Sydney and from there to travel to America.
Absolutely. It'll probably be very nice to be back home again.
Yes, it will be, to go back home where there are my things and my space. It's nice here too.
Mm-hmm.
I live with my sister, and we have an 18-year-old boy to keep us entertained.
Talk a little bit about how it's being handled, COVID-19 is being handled there.
So this is my observation. I haven't been the bearer of whatever is going on here, but I noticed the government was very proactive when this started in March. Right away, the government started taking steps. Like people who are flying from overseas, they had to quarantine for 14 days. So the people would arrive here and then they would be staying in a hotel. I think it was paid by the government too. the 14 days they would stay in quarantine in hotels, and then they could come out. So it was very proactive and very quick action. And the offices were announced that employees could work from home, except for the frontline workers. My sister and brother-in-law, they have been working from home for a while. And no, I've written a list. I'm looking at that.
That's
And
okay.
the schools closed, but it was also open for frontline workers and kids who would be safer in schools rather than at home. And the childcare has been free for a few months too. My nephew goes to childcare, and in childcare are expensive. So
Yes.
that's been government has been providing, like, it's free. It's subsidized here, but it's free now. I heard maybe from next week the parents will have to start paying again, but it's been free. And the unemployment started rolling out. There were so many different assistance, even for renters who couldn't pay the rent. There were assistance from the government, and for house owners who couldn't pay their mortgage, that was the government was they were announcing assistance for that, and different kinds of assistance for business owners. It was just well, when the government gives out these assistance, we know, how to receive it and to announce it are totally different things. But just to know that the government are taking steps, and also maybe having that hope when things are looking so depressing, I felt it's very good on the government's part, and people have been nice. I've seen so Eddie, my husband in America, says it's very depressing there, but here people have been smiling, and we go for walks. We go to now the restaurants are open, and we go to just to get some takeout, and it's been good. And
That's good. Yeah.
the recent development that they've found cases in Victoria, which is the city of where Melbourne is, and so it's on lockdown now. And the hotspots are it's a hard lockdown. People can't leave their apartments, and also the border between Victoria and New South Wales, it's closed for the first time in 101 years. The last time it was closed was during Spanish flu. So the people take very quick and proactive steps. I felt it's good to watch some few things being taken care of.
Yeah, that's really something that it was only closed. The only other time it was closed was during the Spanish flu.
Mm.
And my country of origin, Italy, was one of the hot spots early on when this all first started, but they think they've got it behind them now, and the main reason they think they've licked it is because of very good compliance to social distancing. So I found that very interesting, maybe a lesson that America can take away from that.
I'm from Nepal. I was there for a while, but since I'm not there, I didn't exactly know what's going on, but I still get some news. And it was interesting to see that the social distancing was, again, people were asked to social distance, but sometimes you don't listen. So there were people walking around, and the police made them stand like social distance. And then there were lines of people just being there for hours for not listening to the rules.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today and being halfway around the world from me. I'm glad we found a time that we could both be awake and have our conversation.
Thank you so much.
I'll see you soon. And I'm glad you could join me on the show today.
Yeah, thank you, Nadia. Thank you for inviting me. And I'm also super glad and excited to be here today.
Yes, we're mainly talking about COVID-19 today and how it's being handled in different countries around the world, countries that we don't here in America hear much about, like your country of origin, Kenya, and what you may have heard, because I don't think you've been back in a few months. And also about how that's affecting you, your life, and your business and your projects and activities. So I'll just give you the floor for a few minutes.
We were in Kenya when it actually was starting. So we did have our flights canceled on our way back and went through a little bit of that. But it was very shocking to come through the airports. You know, we went to Kenya and everything was normal. And 2 weeks later, we came through the airports and everything was shut down. It was very shocking to see that the big difference. So definitely COVID has caused a lot of pain. I do talk with my parents. They are still in Kenya. So since it's really been in Kenya, I haven't been there. I think the major thing that I can point out is that there is a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, because we hear how it's affecting people, it's killing people, it's doing this. So I think the biggest thing I can say is that it's caused a lot of fear, and it definitely has affected people's lives in that way. The social aspect of human beings has been severely affected. You know, as studies show, social life is extremely important and needed for human beings. So lack of that affects even people's health. We've had such a big increase on mental illness. Well, I mean, in Kenya, there is fear. The medical supplies there are not as good. The hospitals are not as good. So there has been a fear because of all these things is what happens next. But there's also great faith. People of Kenya are people of faith. They pray, they lean on God. At times, even having less has its own strengths, because I think the people in Kenya know their faith. They don't have very much, so they learn to depend on God. And so I think people are doing well. People are trying to live their normal lives as much as possible. People are out doing businesses and they are saying, you know, we are either going to die of hunger or die of COVID, and it's one or the other. So people are out doing business, and you know, so there's all those components of it there. And then you asked about here. So coming back and the school's closing down, I have 2 kids in the house, and it's been a crazy time to have to be almost like a teacher to my children. Very, very stressful. Because to educate them, I have to learn what they are learning, which, you know, I wasn't raised in America. So there's so many of the school system that I don't understand, especially for my teenager who is in 11th grade. It's crazy because I don't understand what they are learning. And so it's been, until summer began, it was very stressful. Getting all the phone calls from teachers, at the same time trying to keep my job at the same time. So I'm being a mom, I'm being a teacher, I'm being an employee, I'm being a wife. And for once I started feeling like I was going crazy. So I understand. So I understand the mental illness and the effects of this COVID has had on people has been very severe. So that way it's affected us as a family. and then we don't get to do a lot of, we don't do family functions like we've done. We love having people around. We are not doing that. So, again, that social aspect of humanity has been affected, and my prayer is that we can see a go back to normal sooner than later, because while COVID-19 is causing deaths, the isolation is causing deaths, and it's causing mental illness, and it's causing severe grief on families. So for my work as a chaplain, I work with families, patients, end of life. And it's been painful to see the separation between people and their loved ones who are in the skilled facilities, to see people die without their family being at bedside while they really want to be there. So it's been a cruel, painful time. And I'm hoping that things can change. I'm hoping that people can be educated on how to take care of themselves, but have the freedom to make the choice to go and be at bedside when their dad is dying, when their mom is dying. It's cruel to have to keep people away from their loved ones when they're dying. So as a spiritual counselor, as a counselor, basically, I lean on relationships. They are very important. And so instead of keeping people away, I think people should be educated on how to care for themselves, and then be allowed to be there, because that's really important.
I agree with you on especially that point, because it really is difficult emotionally for the families. And I think also that the mental illness and anxiety and stress has not been addressed. Probably we'll be seeing more about that later on after COVID has passed, and there'll be PTSD and other things that people will be dealing with. But I really appreciate everything that you've shared with us today. I can't wait till I can see you again in person and we're doing our shows in the studios.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me to share this, Nadia. And yes, I look forward to seeing you in person, and you are so beautiful today.
You too.
So yes, see you soon.
We'll see you soon, and thank you everybody for watching. We'll see you next time on Women of the World.